Today's episode is the Halls of Stone, and it starts off actually with quite a good example of why I don't like the random dungeon finder. Within about 3-4 seconds of joining the group, we've already lost 2 people. Now, why is that? Why do people join the random dungeon finder and then leave? Because they don't have an instance they don't like. That's the whole point of it being random. You don't know what you're going to get, but you're meant to get on and do it anyway. Now, luckily, I'm here on my tank today, on my paladin tank, and I do just let the group know that we are going to go for a maximum run because we want all the badges. The troll just comes back with that, so I don't know whether that's why you're doing that, or whether it's because we had 3 guys leave. Pretty much, if it'd been because we didn't want to, I would have said, okay, take a vote, but since he didn't express his argument very clearly, just got to ignore it. And yes, ignoring it might be considered a bit arrogant, but to be honest, if you want to hold an argument, or if you want to have a discussion, just say, hang on a second, I'd much rather we did this, put it to a vote. There are 5 people here, so you're never going to have any vote locks. But I guess you can't win with everybody. Anyway, I'm going to speed this up now as we do the trash pulls and that, and just commentate as we go along. So in today's run, we've got myself as a paladin, we have 2 shamans, one is resto, one is elemental. A mage and a death knight. I guess he's an arcane mage, judging by the way we see arcane missiles fired about a lot in arcane blast. Now, pretty good group composition, I must admit. One thing I did notice actually though is that the shaman has a habit. It's Gronka this time actually. Anyone who watched my last video will remember Gronka as the resto shaman. She's now elemental. She does have a nasty habit of letting rip a little too soon. Being in my guild, I did kind of take this up with her. And I'm pretty sure she is just doing it just to really test me. Probably the only person who I would let get away with that. If that was a random, I would have probably had a go at them by now. I must admit, I don't like having my tanking tested by someone who I don't know how they're going to react if they fail. If I didn't pull it back and let her die, she knows it's her own fault, but some DPS seem to think it's my job to keep them alive when they have Ice Block, Invisibility, Feigned Death, just to list off some of the ones I know off the top of my head. Soul Shatter if you're a Warlock. Now I did screw up that pullback there, mainly because I literally hit them where they were. But since the troll shattered the other patrol behind me, I just turned around and grabbed the one in front, and we're done. Now Death Knights and Death and Decay. This Death Knight's actually quite a good Death Knight. He's let me get aggro before he slaps it down. I have had some crap Death Knights that just slam it down before I even got to it. The other thing that annoys me in this run is Gronka trying my patience with her little thunderstorm move. It knocks everything back. She hasn't glyphed for it, and both myself and a few other members of the guild have razors with her because it's irritating as anything. You're trying to tank something and all of a sudden it's knocked 6 feet away from you. It's like, hang on a second, I've got to grab that back. Now, as a warrior, you can throw your weapon at it if it's outside of the range, but with me, I've got 1 taunt. Possibly 2 if you count righteous defense, if it then aggroes her. But it's just irritating. You knock it away from me, you're reducing my ability to create aggro. And this goes to any class with a knockback that they haven't glyphed for and they expect to be able to use it in instance and not get moaned at. Druids especially, because your Typhoon, unless you aim it carefully so that you're not knocking stuff behind me, just don't use it. I mean, in fact, you shouldn't really be using it. I've seen 1 Druid use Typhoon successfully, and that's because he managed to aggro something, it came running straight towards him and he punted it straight back at me. That's fine. To me, that's a fine use of a knockback. But to just run in and use your knockback at random, or just use it as part of your rotation because you like DPS. If you want DPS, glyph it so it doesn't knock back. I like tanking. You don't see me knocking stuff away from you so you can't DPS. Now, the troll did request here that I pull a few more patrols. Fine. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is literally I grab them all and then he runs in and starts doing Arcane Blast in a second just for the AoE damage. It's like, well, hang on a second, you're going to get aggro. And there they go. So yeah, I could probably tank that a bit better if I'd got my rotation up to scratch, but it's just a little bit of common sense. Use your Blizzard, use your whatever the other ones that you have, Flame Strike, although that's mainly fire mages. Don't run in and start Arcane Explosion, because the moment you close that distance, when you're stood 30 yards away, you take reduced threat. You generate reduced threat. If you're at point blank, then spamming your most powerful move and just doing massive damage all over the place, you're generating more threat. Your talents compensate for it, but not enough usually, especially with Arcane Blast. This boss went down without any problems. Pretty much tank and spank nowadays. I mean, I think she got 1 shatter off, but everyone was stood far enough away to have no effect. Now in the distance there, you will see a shaman run around the corner and pull aggro. And to be honest, that's a bit of a stupid mistake to make. If you're not sure what's around the corner, don't run out. Wait for the tank. It's my job to have it hit me in the face, not yours. I mean, they were pretty easy to pick up, but I did screw this pull up by grabbing... Yeah, there we go. I grabbed them in different directions, but as you also saw, there was a death grip there. I have no idea why the Death Knight death gripped, or which direction he death gripped it in. I'm sure he pulled it towards him when I was nowhere near him. To be honest, if you're stupid enough to use Death Knight in a group, then I'm just going to leave it on you. If you die, it's your own fault for using Death Grip. It's a taunt move and it's used for tanking. You don't see me using Righteous Fury when I'm doing, not Righteous Fury, Hand of Reckoning when I'm doing DPS. Although you do see my brother doing it when he's healing, so we're not going to go into that one. Although I must admit, he only ever does it when I'm tanking and whenever Gronka is on her tank character as well. I'm sure he just likes testing us. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. Obviously, it's Maiden of Grief or Maiden of Woe or whatever her name is now. Maiden of Free Loot. Now, what you've probably noticed as well is that I'm doing a full run. I'm going for all the badges. As I said at the beginning, I don't come here for easy runs, and no one else has objected so far. Apart from the one comment from the troll that if we're going to do a full run, can we at least pull more, which is fine. But yeah, again, as I said before, if you're doing a full run, if you're doing an instance, do a full run. There's no point skipping stuff. I mean, it's extra badges at the end of the day, and I mean, I would say points mean prizes, but granted, a lot of you are overgeared for stuff like this. But you can use the extra badges to make money. I'm a jewel crafter. I can buy raw gems, cut them, sell them. You can sell the raw gems on the auction house and make a fair bit of a profit. At the end of the day, you can always do with more badges. I mean, granted, yes, you get 2 Frost, but if you really wanted Frost badges that badly, go and do the raid weekly. Go and find a pug group for Ice Crown. Apparently the Lich King's easy mode now. Ah dear. Sorry, personal bugbear of mine is that I join an instance because I want badges. I don't join it for 2 emblems of Frost, I join it for everything I could get from that instance. Now, this area is a prime example. Because there are so many of the little golemy dudes and I take literally no damage, I went and pulled them all, but watch what happens here. 1, 2, bang, a flame shocks hit it. Now, luckily it didn't aggro, but then he chucked chain lightning out as well, and that one aggroed. So it's then running around all over the place trying to pick them up. But this is the other thing. If you get aggro, run towards the tank, especially a paladin. Consecrate will pick up everything that I miss, and if I miss, then the hammer will hit it. I will try and use Righteous Defense, Righteous Fury. Sorry, I always have Righteous Fury up on a tank, but I will use Righteous Defense and Taunt, Hand of Reckoning. That's my job as a tank. But yeah, you make everybody's job a lot easier when you run towards it. The same goes for Warriors, Death Knights and Druids. If you have aggro, or if you have one of those classes to tank and you have aggro, run towards them. That's what they're there for. They got AoE moves to pick it up. I mean, Warriors and Druids can pick up 6 things that are in close proximity. I think it is that they're massive AoE taunt. I must admit, I haven't played Druid for a while. Death Knight, it just needs to walk within Death and Decay range usually, or Blood Boil, and there, it's on their face again. Now, anyone who's done Halls of Stone knows this part is probably the most boring part of this instance now. Pretty much protect Bran while he's doing his little hacking thing. I always double check here just in case anyone needs the quest. I don't normally double check at the first part. I wait till we get here and just say, does anyone need the quest? I'll wait for a resounding no, or just wait for silence. If I don't get a response, I'll start the quest off. But I recommend doing that because you normally find you've got 1 or 2 people who go, oh, I didn't know he had a quest, or oh, he's got a quest and I didn't pick that up. I must admit, I've done this run with 2 guildies and 2 pugged guys, and one of the guildies didn't have the quest. I knew she didn't have the quest, and I said, wait a second, let her get the quest, and the pug guys just started it anyway. He's like, hang on, have a bit of common savvy. I'm going to leave this sped up purely because of the fact it takes so bloody long just to beat things in the face. The Death Knight's got Death and Decay down, which does tend to cause a little bit of grief a bit later on, but for now it's just pretty much, oh, they run in, I grab them, I hit them, rinse and repeat. In fact, you know, I'm going to push this up even faster because I really can't be bothered to watch this again. Now, for those of you wondering, I do have Power Aura enabled, which is why you keep getting that shield icon appear around me. It's pretty much telling me I haven't got Holy Shield turned on. Mainly because I just sometimes forget to turn it on. I must admit, I'm a bit out of practice with the Paladin. It's funny, I used to do ICC raiding, now I can barely tank an instance. But as you saw then, there you go, Death Knight had Death and Decay down, and instead of coming to me first, despite having to consecrate down, they went to him. So it's Death and Decay is one of those hit and miss spells. If you can use it right, it's brilliant. If you can't, or if you slap it down too inappropriately, you will find that you get aggro and this irritates your tank. Other than that, the rest of the group are fine. Dodge the fire, dodge the lasers. Lasers will start. There they go. There's the lasers now. I think the only person who really took a brunt of the lasers was Gronka, and that's because she was in the middle of casting a spell and didn't move straight away. But she didn't die, so I'll let that slide. Good healing there from our healer. I must admit, this laser seems to always appear in the middle at the most inappropriate times, like when you're trying to fight a massive pack there. It's like, oh, I'll shoot in the middle. But we managed to get around that. And once we got them all down, Bran managed to complete his hacking. I said Bran manages to complete it. There we go. Just some basic loot. I don't even know why I loot check on this character, because there's nothing I need for an instance. Pretty much over geared for all instances. It's quite, I must admit, it's quite why I quite enjoy tanking actually on this character, because there's no effort involved in keeping myself alive. I rarely ever pop any cooldowns or trinkets. In fact, I must admit, the only reason I pop my trinkets nowadays is just to see how little damage I can take rather than how much I can avoid. It's pretty much, I mean, I've got the armor one there. I've got Ix Rotting Thumb, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but it literally just stacks armor on me. Now this was a bit annoying, is there was one guy right in the background who I just couldn't get to. Rant didn't have a shield available, couldn't silence him. No one else silenced him for me though, which was a bit of a pain, but in the end I just ran up and hit him. Once he went down, cleared up the trash, you can just see Gronka running down the stairs in the background. She was a bit delayed triggering off Bran, so she did it for us. Now I chuck out an Avenger Shield here, which pretty much means the aggro is mine for the keeping. Avenger Shield being the Paladin's best tool for picking anything up. If I can get it off, it usually means it's not going to move from my face from that point onwards. Hand of Reckoning is also quite good for single targets, but for multiple, especially if they're in a line, bounce, 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 all on my face. Now this boss fight, I must admit I learned a new tactic for doing this one, is I tried fighting him in the middle, and I think at this point Gronka told me there's an easier way if you drag him back. Yeah, if you drag him back there and fight him, then Consecrate picks up everything that comes in through the side, and he goes straight down. Now unfortunately my frap started playing up here, so I've got a few broken segments of the end of the instance, but it was pretty much, he died, that was it. Game over, man. So that's another Dungeon Finder down. So to summarise, pretty good run let down at the start by idiots using Dungeon Finder. So I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 on that one. I mean, my main comments were the group were nice, they were polite, not a lot of talking between them, but I mean, I can't really argue with that. As I said, I tend to start conversations more than they do. And it was let down by the idiots at the beginning who decided they were just going to leave because they didn't like the dungeon, which to me is pointless. If you don't want to do a random dungeon, don't sign up using the random dungeon finder, morons. And with those wise words of wisdom, I say I am Metroid2K, and this has been Pugwatch. Good night.